Wide Left Sports is proudly sponsored by TDS Fiber, bringing fast, reliable internet to Billings and beyond. Whether you're streaming the big game, uploading content, or just trying to keep the whole house connected, TDS Fiber delivers the speed you need without the lag. Check availability in your neighborhood and make the switch today. TDS Fiber, internet built for real life. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Wide Left Sports. I'm your host, Mitch Bone, and today we've got a really good one for you. If you're a Billings sports fan, you already know the name Billings West High, and you already know their athletes bring it every single season. Today we've got one of their baseball guys on with us, Billings West baseball player, Dylan Mainwaring. Dylan, how's it going, man?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I am doing really good. I appreciate you coming on, and I'm really excited for this interview.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me.
I guess my first question, what kind of made you fall in love with baseball?
I grew up playing Little League for Boulder Arrowhead. And I remember this story to like this day. So obviously we had TOCs, the Tournament of Champions. I guess at the time that was a big thing for us as kids, first tournament, I guess, before travel ball and all that. I remember we were playing a really good Boulder Arrowhead team. And so it was kind of like Boulder Arrowhead versus Boulder Arrowhead. And, everyone comes to that. And I remember I was in right field. And I remember it was bottom of the sixth. There were 6 innings, obviously, for Little League. And there was 2 outs. Ball was hit to me. It was a semifinal game. And so, to go to the championship, it was a pretty big game. And I remember there's a ball hit to me. And I just, at the time playing Little League, I didn't take it that serious. And so, there was the ball hit to me. And I stuck my glove up and I ended up catching the ball and that sealed the game. And I just remember everyone running to me and, I had kind of a dog pile. And I think that's just kind of what, sparked my love for the game. Being able to contribute to the team, I just felt like that was really wholesome.
I love that. So then what made you stick with it? Baseball is a sport a lot of kids try it. They play through 6th grade. And then they kind of stop. So what's made you stick with it all the way through high school?
I think it's the challenge that baseball presents. I really feel like baseball comes with a lot of mental health. It gives you something to work at. It doesn't come easy. Hitting the baseball is pretty hard. I fell in love with it as a kid, and I feel like me as a person, I was just ready for that challenge and to, put my head down and work for it. So I guess that's what really challenged me.
I love it. So you mentioned that, as a kid, you played the outfield at least a little bit, and now you are a second and third baseman. So when did you make that switch, and what kind of cemented you in the infield?
I would say probably when I started travel ball. I played outfield when I was in Little League, but since that I've just been infield. And I kind of like the infield a lot because, I don't know, I feel like there's a lot more to it than the outfield. I feel like outfield, you run to the ball, catch it, throw it. I feel like for the infield, you got to set your feet and you can make some crazy plays. And I love that action, to be at second and then the hot corner, I say that's what the main things are. I
love it. So you mentioned it, the hot corner. It has that name for a reason. And so have you had anybody just smoke a ball right at you there at third base?
Yeah, definitely.
So what is that like, having a ball just rocket right at you there at third base?
My coaches always say you got to be a wall. So I guess I'm sacrificing my life to stop the ball. So I try to just, scoot back a little bit. I kind of try to learn the hitters that are going into the box. I guess if I know they're a pretty powerful hitter, I try to scoot back a little bit. And I guess it all just kind of depends on the situation. Like bunt coverage, I scoot up a little bit and stuff. But if there's no runners on, I'm kind of scooting back and just relaxing.
I love that. And so then being somebody that plays multiple positions like you do you have one that you kind of favor a little bit, or one that you're like, this is where I actually fit?
I've always loved third. I was playing third for a long time, and then high school, I kind of switched over to second. It's hard to choose. I mean, I've always loved third. Second base, I like, rolling double plays and the movement that I get over there. I'd have to say second base is probably where I love right now, but third base is definitely right there.
I love that. So then the offensive side, when you're talking about those two positions, are kind of totally different. Third base, you have a lot of your thumpers that are hitting home runs, doubles, and just hitting the ball really, really hard. And then at second base, a lot of times you have the speedy grinder guys. And so, what would you say is your style, and what do you kind of go after when that you're in that mold?
I would say I try to just go for contact. I would say I have some power behind my swing. I just say I'm pretty good like with eye contact, and I feel like hitting the ball is kind of my best trait. I just feel like I put the ball in play a lot. I'm not really striking out, and I just feel like that's pretty. It's a good aspect to have.
I love that. I love that. So then, what is one thing about your game that people may not know about, that is a strength for you?
You know, I feel like there was lots of times where I know, like, I would try to specifically work on hitting because I felt that my fielding was good, and now I kind of feel like my fielding needs the work. I would say something that people maybe don't realize as much is like I can make some good plays in the infield. Last season I wasn't given a lot of opportunities, but I feel like this year is definitely gonna be a lot better, and I'm definitely gonna be able to show what I can do in the field.
Awesome. I love that. So now let's switch to the team at Billings West. What does it mean to be able to wear West across your chest and play for your high school in baseball?
It's an honor. It was pretty cool having the inaugural season, being on the team. West High has always been a school that a lot of people look at, for their players and their education and all that. And I think that with that season coming into play last year, I felt like, we had a high expectation to live up to. And the coaches, they definitely knew that. They knew coming into it kind of what West stands for. And I just felt that, you know, for us to kind of live up to that expectation, I guess, was truly truly amazing to be a part of.
That's so awesome. And so I know your head coach over there, Kyler Thompson, pretty well from the Scarlets. And so what does it mean to have him as the head coach over there at West and just have his leadership?
It's definitely been amazing. I remember last year a lot. A thing he would mainly say was never be satisfied. He would always say that, and I felt like that was really powerful. Because coming into the season, obviously all conference and everything, everyone really wanted to get that championship. Get state, and I think I think Thompson really knew that we can't be satisfied, and we really need to work for that. And so I think this year we're kind of coming into it with a little chip on our shoulder, and we're kind of ready to get to it. So
That's awesome. I love that. So you mentioned this, that West is a very, very good athletic school, whether it be baseball, football, basketball, volleyball, all of the sports. West is always near the top of double A for all of them. And so, what is it, or I guess, what kind of pressure is one thing does it have for you, especially being in a new sport like baseball was last year, to kind of uphold that?
it's definitely high pressure. Again, like they hold such great expectations from us. We kind of come together as a team, and we know what the job is, and we know what has to be done. I think baseball is such a good sport because it's a team sport, and I feel like we got each other to lean on. And so like when the pressure gets high, we hold each other to that expectation to get the job done. And if you mess up, just move on and get ready for the next rep.
For sure, for sure. So, excuse me. So now let's talk about this year. You know, you had some seniors on the team last year. Obviously, you're going to be a senior this year. And so, how is your leadership role kind of taken over moving into that senior role, and it being the second year of the team?
I guess, being under seniors last year, I learned a lot from them and I know how supportive they were and stuff. And so I think that this year, I want to do the same and show kids that they can be comfortable around us. But also kind of implying that they need to work and stuff because you don't want to be screwing around and stuff in practices and stuff. And we like to have fun at West practices and stuff, but um, I guess just kind of being respectful to them and stuff, and just kind of getting them to get to it.
For sure. So I know you guys haven't really started your season yet, but just from the guys from last year and who will probably be on the team this year, what do you guys think your team chemistry is going to be like this year?
I think it's going to be a lot stronger than it was last year. I feel like, obviously we didn't take state last year, and I feel like it brings us closer. I think we all know that, like, we want that goal, and I think it's just going to bring the team chemistry, stronger. I think that, coming into it, like, again, like, we want the same goal, and it's just like, I feel like we know that whatever has to be done, or like whatever it takes, I guess, is what we're going to do.
That's awesome. So you mentioned that the team loves to have fun at practice, which I think is awesome. But when it comes to being, just as a cohesive group, are you guys kind of like the loud, chirpy group? Are you the lead by example? Are you guys just a bunch of funny guys? Like, what is your group like camaraderie like?
I think it's kind of a mix of all of it. I think Coach Thompson really wants us to be, lead by example and stuff, which is definitely something that we do when it comes time. And I guess we are funny guys. We like to joke around, and baseball's a fun sport. Like, we try to make the most out of it, especially us being seniors. Like, a bunch of the seniors just like to, mess around sometimes and bring some joy into the sport, I guess, because, I guess some of the lower classmen, they come into it and, they're nervous and they're like, I'm scared to mess up and stuff. And I guess, like, bringing fun into it and, kind of messing around, it's just kind of eases the tension, I guess, for them.
I love that. I love that. So every team has, obviously there's studs that everybody knows about, but then there's also the guys that go unnoticed either because they're just quietly doing their thing or they're just unsung heroes for the team. So who would you say was that guy for last year and could be the guy for this year?
Honestly, I think I'm the one that was kind of, quiet and, again, like I said, I didn't have much opportunities last year and, that discouraged me a lot. Not getting playing time a lot, that kind of started something underneath me, like I went into summer thinking like, hey, like, not getting much reps for high school. This is kind of where I need to build myself back up. And summer went amazing. I did really good. I batted great and I did good in the field. And then fall came around. I also did really good. So I would just say, like, I guess I'm the guy that, kind of went quiet and I guess just got to it.
I love that. So then what is this year's West West's team? I don't know how to say that correctly. Sorry. Biggest strength. Is it like your guys' pitching, your defense, hitting? Like, what is your guys' strength?
I'd say our defense is definitely one of our strengths. We did lose a lot of pitchers last year, like Owen Schneider, Sam Ranker, Carson Steinmetz, a bunch of them, they're all gone off to
Right.
college. They were definitely crucial to the team. But I'd say our defense is definitely something that one of our good traits. And I know we can put some bats together. So I'd just say overall we got some pretty good strengths coming into the season.
I love that. And so we talked about how, you've kind of gone back and forth working on your hitting and your fielding, depending on what you feel needs the most work in the moment. But what do you feel is your strongest part of your game right now?
Right now, I would say it's my hitting, and I've been really working on my swing a lot. I've been getting lessons with people, and just kind of trying to better my craft. Again, like summer and fall, I'd say they were really strong because of my hitting, and I feel like my fielding slacked a little bit, but I think uh, I think my hitting was definitely the best for me right now.
Oh, that's awesome. So how cool is it that in Billings, we have people that are one able to help you with those types of things, and two, just so you don't have to go very far to get the help that you need to get to the next level. Talk about
You
that a
know,
little bit.
yeah, definitely. It's definitely really helpful to kind of not have to drive far to get the help I guess that some of us need. It's definitely beneficial, I guess, being in a small state and stuff. Having that help from people who have made it to the high levels. It's just really beneficial, I guess, for them being able to teach them their ways and try to make an impact in your game. It's just truly helpful.
For sure. And then what do you think is something that you've improved the most since last summer, going into this spring and summer?
Um, I would say again, like my swing and stuff. I feel like I've gone quicker at fielding the ball and releasing it. I've got quick hands. Um, I'd say I've definitely got a lot stronger. I've been lifting in the off season and stuff. I think that's definitely beneficial to the game of baseball. And then I feel like on the mental side, I've been a lot more calm, and I feel like I kind of pretend I'm in situations, like I guess a lot of people do that, as little kids, you're like bottom of the ninth, 2 outs, and games on the line and stuff. I guess sometimes I kind of think about that, and I put myself into stressful situations in my mind to kind of, I guess, prepare myself for when it actually comes. I'd say my mental game has definitely improved since last season.
Oh, I love that. So let's talk about that a little bit, because baseball is a game where if you fail 7 out of 10 times, you're making $50 million a year. Um, how do you, I guess, prepare yourself for that? You know, um, Getting to that point where you're okay with failure, because that's a hard thing to grasp at your age.
I definitely think failure builds success. You got to fail to win, and for me, in my journey, I've definitely failed a lot, and I guess it's just how you get back up, and I guess you get ready for the next rep. Because there's been many games where people make errors, and some people tend to shut down, and that just kind of throws the game for them. And I feel like for me, I just kind of block that out, and just everyone tells me to get the next rep, which is just, I guess, again, having like a team game. It's just really helpful because your teammates pick you up when you're down, and that's definitely helpful.
I love that. So is there anything that you do on either a game by game basis, or even as the season goes on, because baseball season in itself is wearing, let alone if you're in a little bit of a cold streak, to kind of just keep yourself up and keep that momentum going throughout the season?
Yeah, I try to have a positive attitude all the time, and again, like us bringing that joy and goofiness into the game, I feel like again that eases the tension. And so I guess throughout the season and stuff, I just try to have a good attitude and just remember that there's going to be another game and stuff. And I guess coming into the senior season, yeah, senior season, I guess I'm just going to try to enjoy it, for the last couple months of high school baseball, and just get ready, I guess, for college.
I love it. So that leads me into my next part. You are going to college, or going to Beloit College. And
Mhm.
so what kind of was your recruitment process, and what led you to commit to Beloit?
So I feel like my journey is really special to me. My dad has been really helpful for me on this recruitment process. He's he's really helped me, get my name out there. I guess he's been posting a lot of videos for me on Field Level, which is a recruitment app. That's definitely helped a lot, and I've been emailing a lot of coaches. And at first, I was emailing a lot of JUCOs, and because that's where I originally kind of thought I was going to end up and where I wanted to be.
Yeah.
And there were some colleges that were reaching back out to me. There wasn't much, but there were some. And so I ended up kind of taking some trips out to places. I went to Washington for one, and to Nebraska. And the thing that was special to me about like my journey, I guess, was like when I went to Washington, I was going to practice with the team. I ended up getting pretty sick, and I still practiced, but I feel like I wasn't 100%. And then I went down to Nebraska, and I got really sick, and I wasn't even able to, showcase myself. And, I was like, at that time, I was pretty down on myself because I was like, I don't know, like I was getting a little stressed out, like, these colleges aren't replying to me. Those were kind of the two that I thought I'd have a chance at. And I just felt like that was like, God's way of telling me, like, maybe those weren't the right places for you. And I feel like that's why maybe I was sick. And, so like a week later it went past, and all of a sudden I get a text from like this coach, Coach Caveni, and he's the assistant coach, recruiting coach at Beloit. He's like, hey, we saw you down in Arizona from the fall, because we went to this big Arizona tournament called the Arizona Fall Classic. And I get a text from him, and he said one of his staff members saw me down there, really impressed with my hitting. And so then we just started, communicating from that. And then I went out there and saw the campus and got to meet the coach, and he told me, their story for the college. And I just thought he was a really genuine guy. And that's what overall, made me choose Beloit.
Oh, I love that. So you mentioned wanting to go JUCO, and then Beloit is a D3 school. So I guess what was your pros and cons for choosing, a 4-year D3 school compared to some other JUCOs?
So me and my mom actually made a list kind of the pros and cons of the JUCO and the D3. I'd say the pros, like for the D3, getting a better education, and it's obviously a 4-year school. So that was definitely beneficial to me. And Beloit especially only I think has like 1,000 students that go there. And so I feel like the student to professor ratio was definitely like beneficial to me, because like, you're getting professors that know your name instead of like these big universities that are like, writing emails to you that are AI generated or whatever. Yeah. And so towards the JUCO route, like I said, I went to Washington, and there was this JUCO that I went to, and it was actually pretty close to some family that I had. And so that was definitely a pro, being close to family and stuff, that would definitely be helpful. I guess the cons of a D3, I don't know. I guess a lot of people like to place a label on like if you're not D1 or, I guess like D3, a lot of people, I guess, downgrade from D1. I think that, the competition is still up there. I think a lot of people underestimate the competition, because I have a couple buddies like Owen Schneider. He's definitely told me that the competition is underestimated. And so, I just was looking for a place that had good education and gave me the ability to play baseball for, 4 years. So
I love that. So let's kind of go into the future a little bit at the end of the baseball season. If you could have the perfect year for West High baseball, what would it be?
I would love to contribute to the team and definitely put up some good numbers, I guess. I just want to kind of prove to myself that, I can handle being in that spot, and prove that I guess I'm worthy of, going to play at the next level. Because I still, have felt that, like, I don't know, I've been kind of on and off about it, and I just feel like I need to prove to myself and maybe prove to others that feel like that I don't deserve to go to the college level. So I think the perfect season was just me being definitely very crucial to the team. And then overall, just, winning state, that would be huge.
For sure. So now I love ending podcasts with this. Let's just do some quick fire questions to get to know you a little bit. Okay. Who's your favorite baseball team?
Oh gosh, MLB. When I was a little kid, I liked the Chicago Cubs, but that's because they won the World Series in 2016. So I mean, I'm kind of a bandwagon, but if I had to choose one, that'd be them.
Hey, they're not that great anymore, so you're not a
Yeah, I
bandwagon
know.
anymore. Awesome. And then, playing the positions you do you have anybody um in the majors that you kind of model your game after?
Again, like growing up watching Chris Bryant and stuff, he was definitely someone that I guess I kind of knew the name of and I looked up towards. Seeing him on TV, obviously, I guess that was inspirational to me as a kid. Yeah, Chris Bryant, Nolan Arenado was definitely another one that I felt like was definitely a good player that I guess I kind of looked up to.
I love that. I love that. And then baseball is a game of superstitions,
Hmm.
from socks to underwear to all
Yeah.
different things when it comes to
Hmm.
baseball. Do you have any superstitions that you have to do every single game or else it's just not right?
Yeah, as a little kid, everyone said don't step on the line. I feel like, when we go out to take the field, I'm always hopping over the line and stuff. That's something I feel like I try not to do. I feel like that's a superstition for me. Um, During the game, I know you said before and after, but during the game, a lot of us, in the dugout, we always do like one ball, one strike, one out. We always, stir the pot. Um, and then when there's two balls, two strikes, two outs, we always use friction, where you rub the hat. We always do that. Yeah, I would say those are the three superstitions, I guess, that I do.
I love that. And then my final question is, it's not really a question, but it's more of a statement. If you could say anything to your parents and coaches about your career so far, what would you say for them supporting you through all this?
I would obviously tell them thank you and how much I really appreciate them for all of my career. I really don't think I would be where I am without my parents. They've dumped a lot of money because baseball is a pretty expensive sport, and I feel like you do have to get out and get your name out there. And that's the thing that kind of sucks, with Montana is that there's not big colleges or whatever coming to see you. You need to get out there and get your name out there. So I guess I would just say to my coaches, thank you for everything that they've done for me and for taking their time to truly better me as a person and a baseball player.
I love that. Dylan, I want to thank you so much for coming on. I am pumped to watch you this upcoming season, and I'm glad we got to share, a little bit about you and a little bit about West Baseball and all of that. So, to everybody listening, thank you for always supporting Wide Left Sports. Make sure you share this episode, leave a review, and follow because we're telling the stories of Montana athletes every single week. See you on the next one. Dylan, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Mitch. Appreciate it.